Great to talk to Juan Castillo, who does a lot of different things for this Commanders offense, and you've been doing this for a very long time. I'd like to start with a little story. So my partner on the radio is Brian Mitchell, who you coached in Philadelphia. And all he'll say about you, he's very, very thorough. Is that how you describe your coaching style?
Well, I don't know about that. It's more, throughout the years, and Brian knows this, is that when I came up, I learned that if you do something over and over and over, it becomes natural. And really, most of the positions are like that, is that if you work on something and you do it over and over and over, it becomes natural. And a lot of people are different. Some people may take 100 reps. Some people may take 1,000 reps. But whatever it is, the technique can get done,
Have you ever read Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers?
You know what? What's funny is, I was with Coach Reed at Philadelphia we were together, 14 years. And so one day, Coach Reed said, here, Juan, I'm going to give you a book so you can read. I do read, but it's football material, from different playbooks or things like that. And so I came in and Coach Reed would say, Juan, have you read the book? And I said, well, no, Coach, not yet. What is it about? And I said, well, it's about being able to do something over and over and over, and then after a while, it just becomes muscle memory. I said, well, that's good, Coach, because I don't have to read it now, because that's what we do as linemen. That's what we do every day. So, thanks for letting me know, because I'm not going to read it, you know.
You got to skip to the end on that one. That's exactly what it's about, that if you do something 10,000 times, you tend to become an expert in it.
Yeah, and I think what happens is you have to have the patience, and, I came from a Division II school where, our head coach, his name is Ron Harms, and he was more like, there was no such thing as somebody can't, It was more like it's your job to develop the players, your job to work with them to get it right. And so I think throughout my career, that's really helped me a lot.
Well, you also wear a lot of hats. I mean, you're helping with the O-line, you're helping with the tight ends, you're coming up with run game philosophies. How do you balance your time in all those different spaces?
Well, you know what? First of all, thank God, I've been doing it for a while, so there's some certain things like line play and even tight ends with a run game and things like that, because the tackles and the tight ends work together. Been doing it a long time that it's more like a natural, like everything else. It's natural. So there's certain things that I don't have to spend a lot of time in, because throughout the years some of those techniques have worked out, and some of that because I was very fortunate to be around really good players, and some of the things that I learned it through my players from watching them play that they didn't really know that they were doing, and we look at it on tape and say, oh man, that's a good way to do it, and then we start using it in our drill work just because it was working for them, and so we incorporate it into our technique.
Offensive line at times struggled last season, a lot of injuries. You're looking at probably 4 new starters this season. How do you feel about the group this year?
Well, I just like, they're really good kids, they're really smart, and they really work hard, and then another thing that's really important is they're pretty good athletes. So when you incorporate those things, and then you say, okay, you're going to use a philosophy of doing something over and over and over to develop that skill, then those usually end up being positive results throughout my career.
When you talk about good athletes at the line, what are some of the athletic traits you look for? It's not going to be 40 times. Is it cone drills? Like, what do you like to see?
No, I think more for linemen ends up being feet. And then usually you're talking about 300. Well, we'll talk about a couple of our guys. You talk about Sam and you talk about Sadiq. Both those guys are 328 pounds, and they both have really good feet, and they both have really good change of direction, and they're both their lateral quickness is really good. So they're both really good athletes. So, we're excited about those two guys.
It's funny, doing my job, I try to make it so that fans can understand how hard it is being an NFL tackle, particularly a left tackle, but on either side, how impossible that task is in pass plays. What would you say to fans to let them understand that they're on their heels with another 300-pounder coming at them and the footwork required?
Well, the thing that we always talk to our guys, throughout the years and here is that we know that the defensive guys are better athletes than we are. It's a different comparison when you talk about athletic ability. So that now the important thing is when you're talking about pass protection, you're talking about angles and getting to the spots. And in the run game, you're talking about the footwork and those kind of things. That, the thing that's really to me for a fan is real interesting is you're watching a lesser athlete go against a superior athlete, and most of the time you end up winning a lot, and so that's really like the underdog, challenges. You look at about it because really those defensive ends now are super athletes, and you talk about left tackle and right tackle. Really on defense they have the defensive ends are just as good on either side, so really it amounts to the same thing as either tackle.
And what's harder on the edges to block? Kind of the speed and the bend, or the strength and the push?
Well, what happens is it depends what you're talking about. If you're talking about the pass game, you're really just the speed and the bend. In the run game, probably the strength. So, I think now more people are going with a faster, lighter defensive ends, because of the pass game.
You've been with Andy a long time. You know this offense. Are you excited to get to bring some of those concepts maybe more to the forefront with, kind of getting your linemen moving the pockets a little bit? Is that something you look forward to?
I think that the nice thing is, Eric, they've had so much success at Kansas City, just like, we were at Philly. Now they had more success. Coach had more success at Kansas City because he won a couple of Super Bowls and everything. But I think it's favorable to the offensive line, and I think the guys are enjoying it.
And are you enjoying working with Eric now?
I know Eric played for us back in 1999, and then the funny story is he came back and was an intern for us. And usually I always, when we have interns, I always pay attention to them, and usually I make them work a lot, because they can help us, So I remember Eric those years, now he's making me work.
But B. Mitch has told me you make everybody work a lot.
Well, the concept is that when you work hard, good things happen. And in the offensive line position, and really the same thing for the tight ends, when you're talking about the run game, is that if you do something over and over, all right, it becomes natural and you get pretty good at it. So that's, there's only one way to do that. I think sometimes people misunderstand it. You can yell at an individual, but yelling doesn't correct mistakes. There's only one way that you get more consistent is by doing it over and over and over till it becomes natural.
What do you think, another 1,000 interviews for me and I'll get the hang of this?
Well, being real, the more interviews you do, the better you get, the better feel you get. So that proves the point.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Yeah.